EXS 398 Assignment 3 Plyometrics, Prescribing Plyometrics for Athletes. What are plyometrics? Plyometrics is a group of exercise prescribed to improve force and velocity to produce power in athletic performance, where speed, strength and change of direction are all important constraints placed on the participant during gameplay. The goal of plyometrics is to increase the tension in the eccentric contraction, shorten the amortization phase, and strengthen the following concentric contraction. All this, the researchers suggest, strongly facilitates the athlete to be faster and stronger in athletic endeavours. Others employ plyometrics in rehabilitation settings and age settings, as well as youth populations. However, for this study, we'll look at athletic performance only. Plyometric exercise attempts to strengthen and lengthen eccentric contractions, reduce the amortization period, improve the velocity and power of the concentric contraction. This elastic type stretch is initially produced by tension as the muscles are loaded in their elongated position in readiness for a concentric contraction. Like a stretched elastic band, the loaded eccentric tendinous connections are stored with energy, and after a short phase, amortization phase, this potentiated energy is released across the joint, across the tendons, increasing power, velocity, strength and speed to the following concentric contraction. Both neural and mechanical pathways are targeted via plyometric exercise and plyometrics. What sports? Team sports like football, AFL, rugby league, rugby union, basketball and even netball could all benefit from what plyometric exercise contributes to the short, sharp bursts of locomotion and deceleration, rapid change in direction and landing skills, all essential to athletic performance in these team games. Who else? Individual athletes like track and field participants, swimmers, golfers and cricketers can all benefit areas of their game that require explosive speed using plyometrics. We look further at athletes. Plyometrics and the athlete. Why? Why plyometric? As mentioned previously, plyometric exercises have good evidence to show carryover to on-field athletic performance improvements. From improving golf swings to MMA kicking power or the jump capacity in elite AFL footballers, plyometrics is a good tool to help improve these endeavours. When do we prescribe plyometrics to athletes? Research suggests that across the season is okay, as long as they are scaled with volume and intensity for where you put them in the training. For example, you could use a low intensity jump squat style plyometrics in the beginning of a warm-up, or you could use plyometrics as a standalone complete prescription after a proper needs analysis and a tailored individualized plan can be made. Evidence shows that in a mid-season, using low intensity sessions with proper timing and between training plyometrics and attending competitions or on field have showed that within about 24 hours, using a light session of plyometrics will improve on-field performance. Volume and intensity are both matched to the athlete and the time of season to ensure that the athlete then stays resilient during the gameplay and isn't injured during their already hectic training schedules. So who should be prescribe plyometrics. Researchers suggest that plyometric training be prescribed to athletes who are already strong in resistance and sport-specific exercise. That is, they already have completed a periodized resistance training program where their body is physically prepared enough to withstand the intensity and volume of an individualized athletic plyometric prescription, and they have undertaken a proper needs analysis to pinpoint specific factors that require improvement related to their prescription. The prescription. The type of plyometric training is determined by the needs of the athlete and the type of sport they participate in. Sports where running, locomotion, change of direction and deceleration are required, they would use a more lower body plyometrics training style, while other sports such as that boxing and javelin would use throwing and pushing, and the upper body would use more upper limb plyometrics to find benefit. A golfer or a baseball batter may require rotational trunk plyometrics to improve their swing, while a footballer or a basketballer or maybe a netballer may require plyometric conditioning in some or all of these areas to dominate their chosen sport. So, how long? Research suggests that a periodized program of between 7 to 14 weeks is a good time frame for a plyometric macrocycle. Volume and intensity. Intensity has been generally believed to be reflected in ground force reaction times, and volumes can be programmed from these reaction times. They're programmed by the number of touches that an athlete puts on the ground, or how long, like a time period of how long it would take the athlete to complete. A group of researchers has even looked into the kinematic values of plyometric exercise and offer further insight into intensity by investigations around this ground reaction times and ground force that these reactions make. This allows better prescription of plyometrics and the plyometric type exercise to athletes. So through using a periodized program where progression and overload are used, volume and intensity can be adjusted accordingly during a plyometrics micro and macro cycles. Recovery. Because of the intensity of plyometric exercise, which involves numerous bursts of high-intensity power-type drills at all levels of the drill may require some sort of recovery or rest. Inter-rep rest, where you have a drop jump, requires a setup between each, which is a good rest period, or where you have hopping and bounds, where we would have rest between the sets, or the session, where between one session to the next, recovery is seen as essential to proper prescription to prevent overtraining and potential injuries in the athlete. It's important not to use plyometric drills for cardiovascular style training, rather to remember that there are power movement and rests and sets should be prescribed accordingly. Scaling becomes necessary for athletes, particularly at the beginning of a plyometric intervention, so that the athlete may learn and adjust to the exercise, but also it will help them prevent injury by introducing an exercise that is too much for them too early. Other considerations that we need to look at: relative training age of the athlete, so how long they've been training, the level of their personal conditioning, how strong they are, the environment that the training's taken place in, so is it a hard surface or a soft surface? These all play part on your plyometrics prescription for athletes. Another thing we need to look at is the risk-reward benefit to athletes and regarding their injury history. So all of these things need to be looked at during a plyometrics intervention. And the athlete can benefit from them. We just have to remember to make them specific and tailored to the athlete.